How's everyone doing? This is Game Face Monday. We are live, and it is a beautiful day and a great start to the week. Thanks to for everyone for tuning in, watching, and listening. As always, Mr. Richie Bello is sitting by my side, and today we have a special guest. His name is John Samuelson. He is a partner in family office, and he's going to be talking to us about the spooky mysteries of crypto and blockchain, which after spending some time with John, doesn't seem so spooky. It actually seems like a huge benefit for all. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
I'm doing perfect out here in California. Thank you very much, Lee and Richie.
Yeah, I could see the skies are blue in California. It's not so much here on Long Island. But all right, just before we get rolling on the show, we're going to take just a quick minute to hear from our sponsor, Shop Smart Autos.
Nice.
Shop Smart Autos knows the new car market is starting to take a back seat, and pre-owned is where it's at. That's why it's time to seriously tap into the private seller market. With Shop Smart Autos, your dealership can now target private sellers by zip code and radius. Yes, anyone looking to sell their vehicle in your area. Once you decide how many opportunities you want and start reaching out, Shop Smart Autos launches a complete dealer-branded nurture program that drives those sellers straight to your showroom. And the best part, you get all the details on the seller and the vehicle, so you know exactly what you're dealing with. So grab that trade, put them behind the wheel of their next vehicle, and create a world of growth and retention. Auctions are cutting into your profits, and sourcing quality pre-owned vehicles takes too much time. Shop Smart Autos has the answer, driving the private seller market to your door.
All right, we are back. We are live. So, John, just give the audience an idea of where you came from and how you got into this world that you are extremely informative about.
Thank you very much, Lee. And Richie, thank you very much for the opportunity. So my core history has been leading emerging technology developments, everything from deep sea construction internationally to quite a long term in the area of developing the United States International Space Station, within the area of medical devices, life support systems, energy systems, all the way on to international telecommunications in the area of semiconductor development, which is now a new hot area in the area of AI. But through all these, leading these advanced technologies and such, I've stayed on the cutting edge in the area of emerging technologies, and now operating in the area of venture capital and family office, leading those fronts in investments in that similar area. From that, over 7 years ago, I got into the area of digital assets and blockchain, which is still really a new area for anybody that wants to get into it. It's not too late, and there's many easy ways. But I got into it in that time frame. I attend a number of international and national conferences on a yearly basis, and I stay up to date on that in that area, and also in the area of AI and the convergence of digital assets and AI. One note, I use the term digital assets as an all-encompassing word for cryptocurrencies and any sort of tokens that are in that area, so that people don't latch on to the word cryptocurrency and only think of currencies. Because
Right.
What we're going to get into is tokenization in that area and blockchain relationship.
Okay. All right. So you've done a little bit in your life.
I've tried.
It sounds like a lot to me. I'd like to know more about the space station and the stuff with NASA, definitely. But staying on topic here, so dealerships in general, this is an abstract conversation for them. I mean, it's abstract. I've always been on top of things when it comes to software, computers, technology. I'm a gamer. I love being in that world. But when the crypto and the blockchain conversation came up over the last few years, it was very foreign to me. So how do you put it in simple terms for dealerships to understand why it's not risky as much as it really is, creates a ecosystem of trust.
Certainly, thank you. So blockchains emerged over 15 years ago with the inception of Bitcoin, and then immediately after that, another of other immediately cryptocurrencies. And then from that, more in the area of 10 years ago, it evolved into tokens of ownership in many ways. A blockchain is fundamentally all it is a ledger that cannot be erased. The terms that are used are that it's an immutable ledger. Many technologies have larger words, but dumbing that down, it's a ledger that is validated by whatever the validating network of computers are, and it cannot be erased. And a block is a group of data, and then you go on to the next block of data once that first block gets recorded and gets validated and locked. You go to the next block, and it's more data, whatever the time frame is, 10 minutes or maybe it's 30 of a block, depending on the function, and it's locked. So it's fundamentally all it is a chain of blocks of data that cannot be erased.
Okay. So now, do these chains exist specifically per business?
There are, thank you very much. Great lead in. So blockchains originally started for cryptocurrencies to be able to track currencies. Now, and over the last 10 years, you can have a blockchain. There are thousands of them.
Right.
And you can have a blockchain for whatever your function is. You could, in your own automotive service, sales, business, aftermarket, whatever it may be, you can have either your own developed blockchain, you can use another company's blockchain and build on top of that for your functions. You can use somebody else's blockchain data and incorporate it into your own needs. A blockchain, just like you would in old school, you would go into the bank and they would record the fact that you were handing over money in a ledger.
Right.
A blockchain is very much the same thing, except for generally they're publicly known, so that the entire group of individuals that need to review it can instantaneously review it, and it's locked and validated so that everybody knows the data in there was valid and cannot be turned around and written over the top of.
Wow. Okay. Almost reminds me of when I forgot what it was called, Apple. I was doing this 10 or 15 years ago, but you would save a version of your computer and in your phone, and you would be able to flip back by days to go to the version of your phone you wanted to go to, or the version of your computer. Not that it's technologically anywhere near what we're talking about right now, but it's what comes to mind. Interesting.
You bring up a very good point, Lee, because let's say if it's a service record of data, okay, on your vehicle, you could go back in if there's a blockchain related to your vehicle, or within the dealership, or on your own chain related to your vehicle record, which we can get into. You would and can be able then to go back in the record and understand what happened to that vehicle prior to your ownership, and where the transfers took place, and what was the entire oil change record, and was there any wrecks related to the vehicle, and what was the service done to that repair, validating that it was done in approved locations using approved parts.
Okay.
So you bring up a good point that you always have that ability to go back in the blockchain and look at the record of history for whatever the function is.
Okay. So unlike, and again, my brain is doing this right now, but unlike a Carfax, it actually goes. What would be the fundamental difference between looking up a Carfax and looking up, let's say, service records through a blockchain?
There's two types of blockchains. You can have public blockchains where
Right.
you allow all the data out to everybody across whoever wants to take a look at it. Cryptocurrencies are the prime example there. Bitcoin, you can go in and look at the record of Bitcoin and see all the address transfers from the inception. Well, in this kind of a situation, you could be making sure that you're not relying on an individual company's record keeping, such as the one that you mentioned.
Exactly.
You're actually able to go back to the build sheet that came out with the vehicle and understand what would be in that build sheet.
Wow.
If it's set up correctly, and then be able to understand from either public record or maybe depending on the purpose, maybe it would be private record under the manufacturer, but you as an owner would be able to go in and look at it and understand without going to an individual company, a second company, to be able to go back and look at that record. And you're not relying on that second party that they went and collected the data correctly.
Yeah.
And plus it could go back all the way to the inception of the video.
Wow, Richie, I mean, this is like, data is the world we are immersed in, and you've always been immersed in. This is like data gone wild. I mean, I feel like more of a blockhead right now when it comes to blockchain, but I'm still trying to wrap my brain around all of it. But what are your thoughts on this, Rich?
Well, I'm glad that you guys were talking and all this, but I'm going to say this: blockchain is not only a thing for crypto. Blockchain is a lot for the automotive sector. The EVs are all on blockchains. Just in case nobody knows that, General Motors has made that announcement already for quite some time. And the reason for that is because once you put it on there, it's forever. And once you put it on there, it's history. Okay. Right. So everybody has investors, everybody has whatever. And the investors want to look at your history performance. Like right now, you take the VIN retention and you put that on blockchain, right? Just imagine having all those tools up on blockchain and giving them access, and they can go on there and see everything. And also see their competitors and see everything. It's becoming a public thing now.
Right. Man.
You know what I mean? That you have the data. You should have the data to help people maximize their profitability. The government used to be more of a secretive thing. You know what I mean? You had the reps from the banks. I used to go to the finance department. How's business? Nobody would say nothing. Everything was like, nobody would be that. So NADA came out, and then the NADA thing, seeing what you were doing, what that doing. But today, actually, really, it's really easy to find out what anybody is selling. That's why when you're in front of a dealership that doesn't have a lot of knowledge and tells you, I'm selling 800 cars, all I got to go is to my computer.
Right.
And I know more or less what the market is selling and what he's selling. And I know if he's an underperforming store or not. And I know if he needs lead gen or not. And imagine putting that on blockchain could really help out the entire automotive community, where I went from, been in the data business for quite a while. We went from before being web-based to having all these Windows servers, with data and registration used to pop in there, vehicle registration. And then it went web-based. And when it went to web-based, then that's like data, like, wow. Now everybody has the cars online. Then Google started crawling and it was all over. Now it's like big data came into the world, 15 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, having big data, that's when the AI started happening and all that. And what is the biggest platform today that has big data? The biggest in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Google?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
because they crawl everything. So that's your biggest platform of data. The second one is YouTube. The
Hmm.
third one is Google Images.
Well,
That's it. And those are the three biggest. This is where, and when you put anything on ChatGPT, it just goes. And by the way, ChatGPT is great, but AI is a lot more than
no,
ChatGPT.
yeah, absolutely.
Like Google just came up with the new thing that they have for developers, for computer engineers. I mean, you need to know fundamentals to work it, but that's it. So now
Hmm.
you can develop anything. I mean, any software you can imagine, you can develop it on the platform of Google. I think I shared that link with you the other day, Lee.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's a new AI link, and AI is ChatGPT is just. I don't even consider it AI anymore. You know what I consider it? Another search like Google.
Mhm.
Because when you tie in the other AIs and you see what ChatGPT could do and what this AI that develops code software for engineers, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, when you talk about functionality and you can put the code in and you can really make that, say you got a platform like ShopSmart,
Mhm.
okay? It's a JavaScript, totally your own code source and everything, right?
Right.
If you want your next JS platform to get this functionality, and here you got to spend like 40 hours in a week for a computer engineer to figure it out, doesn't take more than an hour and a half.
Mhm.
An hour and a half. One of our partners that has a search engine went on there the other day and he wanted to make it into more mobile friendly and more this and more that and wanted to add more functionality for the ad network. Went on there, boom, less than an hour and 20 minutes, and it would have been a 30-hour project.
Wow.
30 hours. So, you know, like there's so many different things, different platforms for AI.
Mhm.
Now you're putting like John's and Family Office. Now they have this thing where you can put these decks and these. You want money, you're looking for money, you're looking for investors. You can put this right online and and give
Right.
somebody a code, and boom, they go right on it.
Wow.
And you can send it to one person. You can send it to 10,000 people.
Man.
Like it's like we updated our technology a little bit. Uh, and we are really thinking about very very deeply of putting all our data of ShopSmart in blockchain.
Right.
Why?
Right.
Because that's called valuation data. Let's talk about it a minute, right? A vehicle is validation. There's a value, right?
Mhm.
First of all, when you buy a car, well, you're buying collateral, right? That's how you get it approved through a bank, right? It's like a house, right? So you got the VIN number, you got the year and make and model, and you got the miles, Now, that's valuation data. So now they know, let's say you're selling your store, they go right into blockchain and they know how many vehicles and operations you have.
Right.
Right? So you're selling your store, it's called the Blue Sky, right? The franchise. Now you're able to see what that store really has.
Right.
What's the vehicles and operations? Right? What is their retention? Now you'll be able to have that through us, right? What is their retention?
Mhm.
How many cars are they rolling a month?
Right.
You know,
What
and that's important for when you have a marketplace.
Right.
That's important for that data to get out there to the right parties. Like, let's face it, you got Larry Miller that merged with Asbury. That was all a hedge fund company. You got all these big companies out there that they're hedge fund companies. That's how they buy. They merge stores, $4 billion, $10 billion. It doesn't matter what the amount is
Right.
because the amount is just a tool. Like John knows, $4 billion. Okay, Richie, how much is that going to make us? What are the dividends? How are we going to pay that money back? How do we get the dividends? What is it? You know what I mean? What's the payout? And that's
Right.
what happens, And with blockchain, you have all that information there.
Right.
How would you like to have a hedge fund company and say, I'm merging now with, let's say I'm selling a group that's ABC and they got 30 stores, okay? And all that information is in blockchain, and a company like Asbury Automotive is going to buy it, right? So that company that's going to buy it can go right in there and boom, and that's it. You're done. There's not a lot of exercise once it's there. What I like about blockchain that it's a ledger, but it's a ledger that cannot be erased.
Right.
And to Richie,
Data cannot be manipulated because data can be manipulated, guys. I know plenty of companies that tell you, look at all the traffic you got through Google Analytics.
Yeah.
You get manipulated.
Right.
That cannot get manipulated. And the biggest manipulator is Google. Okay.
Yeah.
Google shows you your Google Analytics. That's organic. So you go in and do Google ads.
Right.
With blockchain, no. Is that correct, John? Am I right?
Yes. And to your point, Richie, the one of the key values in blockchain is removing of friction of the data implementation and validation. You're taking the human out of the picture, and you're therefore reducing the friction in 24-hour, 7 days a week ability to provide near instantaneous updates, depending on how big your block is, right? If it's a 10-minute block, okay, you're going to have record updates, 10 minutes, whatever it is, however you design it. But it removes the friction function out of there. An example is that California is going to automotive title and registrations on blockchain. They formalized that last year. It's obviously going to be a rollout phasing of getting to full implementation. But in that, title and yearly registrations would be on blockchain. The user wouldn't have a need to maintain paper, and it would be near instantaneous from the time that you do a submittal for your title, or from the time that you say, I need a new record of the title to get the title. There would be zero humans involved in the middle of it, and you'd be able to get to it 24 hours a day from that. Another example is Brabus, the automotive tuner that you both well know through Mercedes many times. They and also Mercedes have been using blockchain for parts validation and maintaining of records. Supply chain management is greatly enhanced by blockchains. Walmart originally started out many years ago in putting together a blockchain so that they could review broccoli and spinach transfers from farm to grocery to ensure that if there's a salmonella breakout, they could instantaneously go back to the record and figure out where it came from and therefore exactly which stores it hit. So you didn't have to pull it from an entire state or county or whatever.
Wow.
The same thing works in blockchain relative to service records or related to the supply chain of parts, either in aftermarket performance that you're putting onto vehicles that are going through dealerships when they're doing that, or otherwise. It's a validation method in that. And the fundamental back there is that it removes all the friction of a human getting in the middle and maintaining and updating the records.
Wow. So on the corporate, the Walmarts, the Mercedes corporate, what happens on a dealership level? Are they more in a situation where they're tapping into this blockchain data, or is it something where they make this decision, my dealership will be on blockchain, and what is that process?
If it's at a dealer level, they would obviously be tapped into it for whatever the dealer relationships are and the data transfers back and forth. That would probably be sort of as the norm of how current data is transferred and where they have access to data and such. It would be the same kind of implementation hooks and things. If they wanted to do their own for some reason,
Right.
which there are reasons, there's a number of ways that they could get in. Number one, I believe all businesses should foster the mindset of the business to facilitate individuals to stay on top of emerging technologies. We're in a state of disruption internationally in technology advancements in the area of AI and otherwise, including
Sure.
in this space, in digital finances. We have laws that have been passed now last year, bills that have been passed allowing institutional and regional retail banks to implement stable coins, which is one form of a digital asset, into the banking system as tied to United States treasuries. That's a major move showing that this is now a mainstream item that's
Right.
taking place. So what dealerships could be doing, like businesses should be doing, is fostering their employees and their leads to take hold and grasp these areas of technology, and then also foster certain individuals by giving them the charter to be the lead in a certain area, to go off and figure out how they can be more efficient in areas, and giving them recognition for what they find, and in monetary, but also just across the company, of giving them the recognition for going off and finding what they learn about it and how they can implement. There's various subcontractors and third parties that already have systems developed that can be integrated. You could also go off and integrate, develop your own if you want to. The earlier option is obviously easier.
And what's the temperature out there with what are you feeling from people in general, professionals? Is it kind of a what's the point, or is it adaptation becoming more of a thing?
I absolutely see adaptation becoming more mainstream. The individuals are seeing these reports and the articles of the bills that are being passed in this area. It's like anything. I run into some that are senior in their career and they don't think, well, I don't really have time to get into that one.
Right.
And I'm going to keep the business riding out as is.
Right.
There's more visionary type profiles like Mr. Bello here that take a look at these things and say, wow, help me understand the fundamentals, and then from that, where I can take it. I end up coaching a number of individuals weekly that have an interest in understanding it.
Yeah.
To the point, because they know they need to understand it and they don't know where to take it. But the fundamental is first get the fundamental information.
Yeah.
And then start moving forward by chartering individuals in their company to take the lead out.
Sure.
So dealers their whole life have had something called dealer management system, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a technology that's either by CDK Global, Reynolds and Reynolds. And years ago, it was also another company, Coin, that got out of business. Reynolds and Reynolds bought them. And today there's another tech company that's doing it. So giving that control to somebody. So the biggest data breach that there was CDK Global, unfortunately, about a year and a few months ago. And it was really unfortunate because I have a lot of friends that work in that company.
Mm-hmm.
They're good guys, and it's very unfortunate. So having blockchain, you're putting the dealer in control. Mr. Dealer, you're in control. Having your blockchain, because you can make that secure or whatever, you're in control. Now, the value of that is when you got to get for floor plan, you got to get an extension of floor plan, everything's right on there. There is no, wait a minute, let me get my office, my accountant to send you the financial statement. And now it goes through a whole process of increasing my floor plan. Okay. By the way, go right on here, send them a link, boom, you should have the floor plan within 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you know the car business and you understand blockchain, now you see where the opportunity is. Now, General Motors has blockchain for General Motors Financial. Now, a lot of people here know that I'm pretty connected with General Motors. Okay. Obviously, I know. So they've been doing that since 2019. Okay. 2019, they've been doing it. So why is that? Security. That's the other thing you got to look at. When you put your stuff there, it's like nothing's unhackable, but it's pretty close to it. Okay. In blockchain. Very good for cybersecurity, very good for you to keep your stuff secure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's the other thing why they're doing it, you know. And I'm sure Ford's doing it. If General Motors is doing it, I'm sure a lot of other people are doing it. The EVs now, they're starting to do it with them, you know. And Mercedes is one of the biggest, groups that started doing that at the OEM level, you know. And why? Because the bigger groups that are public and all that, they understand crypto, you know. And dealers understand that actually there's a company out there that dealers have the merchant account pay by credit card. You can pay with crypto, right? It's getting into that now. It's the new currency that's coming over. And if you look at your terms and agreements from 2000 to 25 of JP Morgan, Bank of America, TD Bank, they all upgraded their terms of agreement for digital assets.
Mm.
And that's all you got to look at, the last year's terms and agreements, you know, and look at today's terms and agreement, what it says. So you know that that's coming together.
Yeah.
Because you're bypassing really the bank. You know what I mean? It's just bypassing. And it's much easier when you have it like that than what we're dealing with now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a friend that's disabled, right? Last year, they didn't pay him for a whole year or something. He needed the award letter. The bank's holding his money. You know, if that money would go on a crypto account, the government would pop that money in a crypto account. There'd be no, give me the letter, let me verify if it's you, and all that. So what are you talking about? Why do you think that money's in there? And that was last year, 19 something. It was like for a whole year, they didn't pay him, you know. I'm sure he got it now, but
yeah,
you know, these are things that happen in the way we're set up now, because it's very old school, right? And that's why new things come in. You know, like you think that you send out an invoice today and you put it on your merchant account, it takes 2 days for you to get it paid, you know,
right.
whatever, because it goes through this, that, it's pending. It's all this nonsense that goes on, you know. It's getting to the point because people are floating their money and they like the float. The banks love the float.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because ACH, they floated in 24 hours. All that money is available all the time. They float that every 24 hours. You know the interest that they make on that? In 24 hours?
Yeah,
they
sure.
make $1 billion. And who's ever in the financial business, like John, knows what I'm saying is a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where this digital assets come in. And this is, by the way, the dealerships are going to start doing this, you know. It's public information that the OEMs have been doing it. That's why when I was talking to John, a while ago. I kept asking him. I was standing with him for how long, John? 4 hours?
No, it was more like 6. Go ahead.
6 hours. So I wanted to learn so much about it, but I'm slower than your average person, so it takes me longer, and I got to ask the question over and over again so I understand it.
Yeah.
And the reason that I was doing that is because I knew of General Motors going into that. I just didn't tell John. And I know of General Motors, there's a lot of financials are going into that. And I know certain places that have it already set up in the automotive sector. There are the big companies because they get money from hedge funds to merge and to do this and to do that. So a lot of hedge fund companies are putting that together out there to the people that need the money, the big money, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because it's something they can see. Everybody wants to see, seeing is believing. You know what I mean?
Right.
You got to see it. If you don't see it, it's not there. With this solution of blockchain, it's beautiful. And I think blockchain started since 2014, John, something like that.
Well, no, the first is the Bitcoin blockchain, which really its inception is 2008, plus or minus.
Right.
Wow.
And it started coming in, and I think it's a very tremendous value for dealerships, and I mean, it's a great opportunity for dealers to do this. And by the way, John is one of our partners. He's with Family Office. He has a lot of knowledge in the financial side, so he's one of our partners. So we always like talking to one of our partners that is involved in something like that and has the kind of knowledge, the kind of massive knowledge that John has.
Thank you.
And everybody knows that one of my partners is Michael Onhai. He's a big investor. He's a big hedge fund guy, and he's very, very big in crypto. And he says, "Wow, this is great." So it's amazing what it's becoming. The evolution is becoming like that. We're living in very exciting times. I told somebody that last night. We're living in very exciting times.
Yes.
But you have to comprehend what is really going on. So there's growth and there's all these things, but it's very exciting times. And let's take it from here. Let's take it. The auctions at one time, not too long ago, 4 or 5 years ago, was great. Supply and demand came up. So dealers were buying cars at the auction and buying them in COVID and paying and paying and paying. So the auction got used to all those big numbers. And now private sellers came in. How could they be 3 million private sellers in the marketplace? How is that possible? Customers are not trading in cars. Somebody educated the customers, which was the dealers. How did this happen? Well, they have the machine there, VOTA or whatever the appraisal tool is. They look at it, they give the number what they're wholesalers now. The managers became wholesalers. Now they give the customer the wholesale number, and that customer is going to go. We're not looking at what could we retail the car for. Well, now it's too late to go back to school. Now there's a problem with the private sellers, and there's a problem. There's no real used car factory. Okay, so now you got to generate these people in your showroom to buy these cars. Yeah. When you're talking about, I got a pretty large auto group in California that we know of. He picked up 370 cars in December. Do you know what that does to his bottom line? You're looking at 2,500, let's say 2,500 by him just buying those cars. $2,500 times the amount that he bought.
Yeah.
That's what he made. If he would go to the auction, he'd be paying $2,500 more.
Right.
I got the entire spreadsheet, and this is why people are reaching out about the private sellers, that they're looking for private sellers because it's such a big business. What I would like to do at the end of all this is I have access to all the private cells. I'm working on with John. I think I'm going to work on this technology to pop up all our private sellers every day as they come in on blockchain.
Mm.
And now a dealer can go on there and to get whatever he wants. That's it. We open it up. We make it private, and they open it up, and they pay there, and that's it. And they get whatever they want. There's no, hey Richie, send me this data, send me that data. There's going to be none of that. Once we do the bill out, there's going to be none of that where they have to keep calling me and I didn't get the list. I didn't get that. It's going to be automated. It's going to go right in there. You know what I mean? And now you got the history car.
Right.
And where that car came from. So the customer bought the car. The customer's selling the car. That car, the dealership is buying that. So that whole thing there, it's transactional.
Right.
And right there, we can make it transactional. John, tell them about that contract thing that you say.
Thank you. Great lead in. So what Richie's also getting into the area of is smart contracts.
Right.
Mm.
Smart contracts are enabled through blockchain. Smart contracts are what electronic contracts where you set in all the terms in that contract and you repeat that contract use for as many vehicles as you want to use. Where as the terms are put into the contract, then once each individual term is met, the blockchain through the smart contract records the fact that that item was completed. So let's say there's a down payment due, and I'm going to deviate in another little area. Let's say there's a down payment due on that, right? Okay, somebody could immediately send over, they don't have to send over dollars that are coming from a bank and then going into another bank as validation. They could send over stable coins, which are part of that legislation that was released, where they're sending over a token that's a relationship of the US dollar or a treasury. And that would immediately be recorded that individual made the payment at 3:00 in the morning on Saturday morning, right?
Wow.
It doesn't have to wait till 8 a.m. or later by the time somebody gets around to it.
Right.
And the smart contract would go through and say, is the title free and clear? Yes. It would automatically check the state record and say, yes, the title's clear. Is there any other known issues that weren't already claimed in the vehicle? No, there aren't any. And go through all the terms, and as all those terms are met, 5:00 in the morning, it would go ahead and execute, and the buyer would have their vehicle.
Wow.
And so
then you would know the money is valid instantly.
Sorry?
And you would know the money is valid instantly.
It would already been done, is transferred, yes, because you would have been doing that in stablecoin transfers at whatever hour.
Wow.
And the person would walk in and pick up the vehicle, or it would be whatever delivered to them, whatever that automated process is. And again, this is all about removing friction in the system, right?
Right.
And then one other area that Richie was touching on was the fact that in this, there are dealers that have enabled receiving Bitcoin or some of the other major cryptocurrencies as payment. And there are a vast number of what are called whales, which are high net worth cryptocurrency holders that were visionary enough to invest in the domain many years ago, or now there's many even more that have gotten into it more recently.
Right.
But many of them don't want to deal with dollars where they don't have to. They're not trying to necessarily avoid taxes or skate around the system. They're just operating in the digital asset domain, and they have credit cards that pay out in crypto, like I do, or receive crypto. That's a whole topic. But you can also then reduce the friction of somebody like that wants to buy a vehicle by being able to receive Bitcoin as the number one, or some of the other top currencies. In closing to that, it's not hard to implement.
Right.
There are quite a number of companies that you just integrate their payment system into yours, and they receive it, and you can either immediately convert it to dollars and move it, or hold it, whatever you like.
Yeah. Wow. Jeez. I don't know. I think we need a part 2 and part 3 on this show, Rich.
Yeah, it's really a good show, and it's like, it's like that's what we got to start doing. I really haven't told anybody about like factories, the OEMs, what they're doing, but they have it already, and they've been doing it, and you can validate that.
Wow.
And General Motors is one of the first ones that started doing that. It's like an important thing, because security, it's more secure.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that alerts you, security.
Yeah.
I mean, people are getting hacked left and right. I heard something yesterday that Instagram got hacked or something. I don't even know if it's true.
It's possible.
But I heard that. I mean,
yeah.
I was watching television and something came up that Instagram got hacked.
Yeah.
So, everything today is getting in, and when there's traffic, when there's a platform that has a lot of customers in and has a lot of engagement, that's when you get hacked.
Right.
It's basically the same thing. Like when people start hating on somebody, it's only because that person is ahead of him. The guy that's ahead of that other person will never talk bad about him. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing, and it's more traffic. That's what happens when you're making some headwaves. That's when you get haters. But the guys like are bigger than that person are not going to be a hater because they could care less. And that's the same way, And this is a very secure platform. It's been tested a lot, and General Motors gives out that information in certain companies, but I'm sure that the financial area like JP Morgan and all that, I'm sure they have that kind of stuff secure. Now you go in there, and even if you show them your ID and you show them your debit card and you show them all that, they send you a code on the phone. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, they're really, really, right now, the security is getting to the point where it's going to cost you money.
Yeah.
So.
Well, John, anything, I think we're definitely going to have you back on the show in the future to talk even deeper on all these topics. But was there any point that you wanted to make before we wrapped up today?
Well, I would like to mention that one company, there's the DeLorean company, DeLorean Motor Company of today is a company in Texas that took over all the rights related to the original DeLorean car company. And they, in Texas, have for a few years now been putting out a high-end, unique luxury vehicle in the sports domain. It is now all electric is the one that they're concentrating on. In that development, they also took it to the edge to make sure that they were implementing any state-of-the-art technologies that would aid the ownership of the vehicle. And really, you start with, if you want to make a down payment, you make a down payment in cryptocurrency. And there's ways to easily convert your US dollars for a one-off if you don't want to completely get in the domain. But, and then from that, you receive a tokenized digital asset that's a recording of the fact that you made the down payment. And then and then that ends up getting tied to the VIN of the vehicle. So that from the inception of the car, there's a blockchain registered ledger on the vehicle moving forward. And that includes the build sheet, and then on any maintenance that's done is recorded off that, any service that's done. So you got parts validation, transfer of vehicle, that you're transferring that token over to the other person.
Wow.
And so it removes all the friction, and they
were able to do it from inception.
It gives very clean ledger all the way back to the vehicle after it's 20 years old or such.
Right.
As a collector vehicle, it's really hard to go back and validate that record. You got to take somebody's, but if you got it there, right?
Right. Right.
It's going all the way back to the build sheet below.
Jeez, that's amazing. Rich, anything else you want to add before we wrap today?
No, that's it.
It's the deal.
I'm like excited about this.
Yeah.
So it's really, really a good thing. I really think that this is a big game changer, you know?
Absolutely. Sounds like it. And there's a lot more I want to learn about it and wrap my brain around. Yeah. But very thankful for having you here today, John, taking the time to be with us. Definitely would love to have you back in the future to talk more on this and to see where things, I'm sure this is going to evolve very quickly. So there'll be a lot of new things to talk about. And yeah, that's it, fellas. Thanks for a great show. Rich, thanks for having me by your side.
Thank you.
And John, again, thanks for taking the time, and definitely look forward to talking more and picking your brain more on this and on the space station.
Thank you. And anybody that has interest in getting into this, either you can reach me through Richie or yourself or johnsamuelson.com, and then on LinkedIn is jsamuelson100 under the rest of the LinkedIn handle, or John Samuelson. So
awesome.
However I can help you and your constituents would be great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely would tell everyone in the audience they should be reaching out. If you want to know, if you want to be in the know, John is definitely the guy. All right, guys, thanks. Thanks again for everyone for watching and listening, and we will see you again next week.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Richie.
Bye.